Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, wa salatu salam rasulullah. We continue reading from Imam Al-Ghazali's Deliverance from Error, Al-Munqadh min al-Dalal. And we are still reading about the philosophers, and the very last part indeed, the part on ethics. And the very last paragraph that we have read, in this paragraph, Imam Al-Ghazali responds to those who oppose to the fact that he included, from their perspective, certain concepts, certain thoughts, certain vocabulary that they attribute to those to the philosophers who came before. And Imam Ghazali says that, first of all, they really do not, they're not experts. Their minds are not the minds of experts. That's one thing. They're not thoroughly grounded in those sciences. And they claim that they were taken from early philosophers. Imam Ghazali says it's very simple. It is possible that one might, he said that, أن بعضها من مولدات الخواطر, mine. This is definitely Imam Ghazali's work. But he said it's possible that you would reach the same conclusion, like you have to get the same idea that those who come before you. And I think anyone who's who has serious work in such a field, talk about philosophy, talk about theology, you might think of an idea and you'll discover someone else already addressed the idea, a topic, a title, thinking about a book, and if you check whether anyone wrote about it, and you'll find it's exactly the same title. So, and that's what, when as a metaphor, it's not far-fetched. It's possible. He said exactly, just as a horse hoof may fall on the print left by another horse. ولا يبعد أن يقع الحافر على الحافر. And he said that some of these could be found in the scriptures, really, الكتب الشرعية, because the word scriptures could be in any scriptures, but here it's about the كتب الشرعية, Islamically speaking. And he said, and most is found in the writings of the Sufis. Now he says, however, assuming that they are found only in the writings of the philosophers, if what is said is reasonable in itself and corroborated by apodictic proof and not contrary to the Quran and the Sunnah, then why should it be shunned and rejected? This is also true for us today. If there is an idea, a thought that is promoted by a non-Muslim, it could be in line with Islamic teaching, and there's no need to reject it. There could be, books that It could be as if they were written from an Islamic perspective. It depends. Okay. Think about protecting the environment, and you'll find that it's really in line, in essence, with the Islamic worldview. Protecting the environment would also mean protecting life and property, and it does have even theological implications, but because the preservation of any species that is at risk is preservation of a being that praises, like it has its own place in the order of in the plan, in the divine plan of the universe, and the sign that points towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At any rate, it's, so it's possible to find something that is in line with Islam, written by a non-Muslim even. Like if you will find similarities between Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics and some Muslim theologians. In fact, you'll find something in Al-Ghazali. It does mean that Ghazali adopted Aristotelian philosophy. Or some people wrote about Neoplatonic notions, and Al-Ghazali doesn't mean that he's a student of Plotinus or okay. If we were to open this door and aim at foregoing every truth which had been first formulated by the mind of one in error, we would have to forego much of what is true. We would also have to give up a lot of the verses of the Quran and the traditions of the Apostle and the recitals of our pious forebears and the sayings of the sages and the Sufis. For the author of the book of the Brethren of Purity, Ikhwan Mustafa, in fact, the Ikhwan Mustafa and Khillan al-Wafa, Brethren of Purity and loyalty, al-Wafa. So the Brethren of Purity and the friends of loyalty. For the author of the book of the Brethren of Purity cites these in his own work, appealing to their authority, and thereby enticing the minds of stupid men to embrace his false doctrine. So sometimes you'll find it employed. So they would take something that is true, and it will be mixed really. That would be an invitation to those in error to wrest the truth from our hands by putting it into their own books. Now, Ikhwan al-Safa is something remarkable. We talk about the 3rd century. That's, if we talk about the Hijri calendar, 10th century, and some might say even a bit later. With and we talk about the city of Basra, their writings are a melange of different religions, philosophies, and there are those even from within the Ismaili tradition, uh, though much later, who said that it was written by Ismailis. At any rate, there are studies that try to pinpoint who were they, the Ikhwan al-Safa themselves, and they came up with certain names, but it shows that they have. It reflects really part of the mosaic that existed in Iraq and beyond at the time. Remember what we said about Al-Farq bin Farq by al-Baghdadi, who passed away in the year 450, the year in which Imam Ghazali was born. And he wrote about more than 73 sects and groups, and even with subdivisions. The lowest level attained by an intelligent man is to be so different from the gullible man in the streets that feels no aversion to honey, even though he finds it in a copper's glass. Copper, talk about the cupping. You talk about drawing blood. Really, people still believe that it is helpful in terms of medicine, in terms of healing. But it's a topic unto itself. I'm not going to deal with that now, because we talk about what is described as prophetic medicine at one point or the other. Uh, so, no aversion to honey, even though he finds it in a copper's glass, but realizes that the cupping glass does not alter the nature of the honey. For the natural distaste for such honey is based on a popular misconception arising from the fact that the cupping glass is made for blood deemed impure. Consequently, the man in the street supposes the blood is deemed impure because it is in the cupping glass, and does not realize that it is deemed impure because of property found in the blood itself. Hence, since this property does not exist in the honey, it is being found in such a vessel does not impart to it that property, nor does it necessitate its being deemed impure. This is an empty fancy. Yet it is prevalent among most men. Thus, whenever you trace back a statement and attribute it to a speaker of whom they have a good opinion, they accept it, even though it be false. I think this is today, it's pretty much true, not only a person, but usually a person with within a political party, within a movement, within they once they accept the party, once they are members, once they become members in the group, in the party, in the movement, they start accepting everything. And this is what, when we talk about ideological um, trends, if you will, Imam Ghazali did not, of course, deal with something like a cult today. It that becomes a level of acceptance that is very dangerous. It's sometimes it is cultish. Sometimes it's cultish when it becomes really centered around one person, a movement centered around one person, and that is not the Islamic ethos. You know, that is not the Islamic ethos. We have the Quran, we have the Sunnah of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and any person should always, they could basically withdraw. They could basically be uh, very dependent, and rightly so, on the Quran and the Sunnah, and they might come up with gems, okay? But ultimately, don't forget, where this came from. So when you attribute it to someone of whom they have a good opinion, they accept it, even though it be false. But whenever you attribute it to someone whom they have a bad opinion, they reject it, even though it be true. Thus, they always know the truth by men, not men by the truth, which is the ne plus ultra of error. This, then, is the evil due to total rejection of the philosopher's ethical teaching. The second evil is that due to total acceptance of their ethical teaching for one who studies their books, such as that of the Brethren of Purity, Ikhwan Mustafa, and others, and sees the prophetic maxims and Sufi sayings they interspersed with their own utterances, often approves of their writings and accepts them and forms a good opinion of them. Thereupon he may readily accept their errors mixed up with those borrowed truths because of a good opinion acquired about what he has seen and approved. This is a way of luring men into error. Because of this evil, the perusal of the philosopher's books must be prevented on the score of the deceit and danger they contain. Just as an unskilled swimmer must be kept away from slippery river banks, so men must be kept from pursuing those books. And just as children must be kept from handling snakes, so the ears of men must be protected from the farrago of those sayings, talking about children, Jean-Jacques Rousseau and his uh, philosophy of education, which he presented in Emile. He wrote it when he was in Switzerland, and in the lake, because uh, there's one building in the lake, like there's a stretch of land, and there is one building, and he when we talk about a building, it's not a small house, but it's not the high rise, of course. Uh, he wrote email, and his philosophy was to leave children without input, without interference, so that they could learn on their own. Uh, that's a big mistake, of course. You cannot allow children the absolute freedom to learn on their own. Children must be kept from handling snakes. In fact, on that stretch of land on which I did walk, I visited Bil Bien several times, and there were small fruits like berries. Um they could look like cranberry berries in general, and I asked about whether children they are poisonous. That's the whole idea. And I asked about children. Would they touch these berries? Would they eat them? And they are poisonous. And I was told they will instruct the children not to uh, consume, not to eat, not to touch these poisonous berries. And this is in the very same place, like meters away from the building, from the house in which Jean-Jacques Rousseau stayed, the opposite of what he advocated. You cannot let children eat poisonous fruits so that they could learn from their own experience. You cannot let them uh, handle poisonous snakes uh, or play with anacondas or pythons. But this is really the history of uh, of thought. And just as children must be kept from handling snakes, so the ears of men must be protected from the farrago of those sayings. And just as the snake charmer must not handle a snake in the presence of his little boy, since he knows that the boy will imitate him, thinking he is like his father, but rather must caution his boy against that by being cautious himself in the boy's presence. Children will absorb uh, the behavior of the adults in their own social context, be it the parents, the grandparents, or so. Also, the man of deep learning must comport himself. Furthermore, when a skilled snake charmer takes a snake and separates the antidote from the poison and draws forth the antidote and renders the poison harmless, he is not free to withhold the antidote from anyone in need of it. So, too, when the money changer skilled in picking out coins puts his hand in the trickster's sack and takes out the genuine pure gold and discards the spurious and counterfeit coins, he is not free to withhold the good and acceptable coins from anyone who needs them. The same holds good for the true scholar. There are true, sound, wholesome ideas, and there are also fake ideas, fake truths, as they call them today, fake news. Moreover, a man in need of the antidote whose soul feels a great loathing for it, because he knows that it has been extracted from the snake, which is the seat of the poison, must be properly instructed. Likewise, when a poor man in dire need of money is averse to accepting gold drawn from the trickster's sack, he must be reminded that his aversion is pure ignorance, which will cause him to be deprived of the benefit he seeks. He certainly ought to be informed that the proximity of the counterfeit to the genuine coins does not make the genuine coins counterfeit, just as it does not make the counterfeit coins genuine. In precisely the same way, therefore, the close proximity of the true to the false does not make the true false, as does not make the false true. This, then, is as much as we wish to say about the evil and mischief of philosophy. With this, we end today's reading because we are going to begin a new title, The Doctrine of Ta'limism and Its Danger. And it's a rather long entry, and inshallah, we will deal with it, all of it, tomorrow. Until then, سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.